Welcome to the Awesomeness in Action radio show. I'm your host, Rashana Price, international author, coach, speaker, and trainer. This show is brought to you by Erie Success. Erie Success is our corporate sponsor, which supports individuals and organizations that are looking to grow. To learn more about Erie Success, go to EYRIE-success.com. That's EYRIE-success.com. We're also sponsored by Davenport Event Management. Davenport helps individuals, organizations, and others who have purpose-driven events and they want them to come to life. To learn more about Davenport Event Management, go to davenporteventmgmt.com, davenporteventmgmt.com for more information. Thank you to our sponsors and welcome everyone. We have an amazing show. I have with me Shatiera Portee, all the way from New Jersey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited. This is the highlight of October, the last quarter. I'm in my winning season, I'll call that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But to finish off the last quarter four in my winning season and to be here as your special guest, I'm so excited. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You are an educational consultant. You are multifaceted, multi-talented, and you have a business called School Counselors on Wheels. So tell us more about you and how you got started.
Yes. So again, I'm from New Jersey. I'm a mom. I have a teenager son. He's turning 15 tomorrow. So everybody out there who hears the sound of my voice, please pray for me. We in high school now. We a teen. So
Hey,
we're excited.
yes.
But growing up, school counselors on wheels, I tell everyone it came from me being uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. So it wasn't a vision that I had on the forefront that I saw that was going to actually be birthed. It actually came out of me being uncomfortable and me having to make a life decision. Growing up, I was raised by my grandmother and my great grandmother. My mom had me when she was very, very young. So my mom and my dad really wasn't in my life. They were teenagers when they had me. I'm the oldest child. So my grandparents raised me. And through that process, I dealt with some mental health, some low self-esteem, abandonment issues, and growing up, I just felt like I was looking for a sense of a belonging, lack of self-love, and I dealt with a lot of things. And I was looking for a mentor and I was looking for friends, and I just was going through a lot. And as I started getting older and was dealing with the issues that I was going through, I always wanted to help people. I always wanted to just be that friend. I always wanted to be just that person that could help. I wanted to be this caretaker role. And as I continued to go through my journey, school was an outlet for me. So even though maybe things weren't the best at home or how I was feeling, I excelled in my grades. So student of the month, honor roll, and I used school as the way to distract me and really keep me focused, uplifted, and distracted, really. When I got to high school, my first counselor that I had didn't look like me. I'm a Black girl from New Jersey going to a regional high school with many, many students, but a lot of our teachers and our staffs and even students that look like us didn't look like us. So one of my first counselors, actually, when I was going to her to get some help, she was just basically limited and put me in a box and was just saying that I would only be able to apply for just community schools, that there was no other options for me. And it really, like, not only was I dealing with abandonment and not having the confidence in myself, it really kind of put me like, wow, like I'm not really getting the support that I want at home, even though my grandmother took care of me. She was working, she's older, she raised her kids, so she has me and my sibling. And I was looking for some additional support and guidance, and I just wasn't getting it there. So that shut me down. I felt isolated. And I said, I don't think she's supposed to say that to me. That don't feel right. So I went home, told my grandmother, and we were able to get me another counselor. And the counselor looked like me, very supported, turned me around. I was on the verge of not graduating because I wasn't feeling motivated. I graduated. I got a scholarship. I went to college, a 4-year private institution. I started studying psychology, and I was still going through some things. I still was going through, feeling depressed and alone, but I made it over that hump. And I would say, just to fast forward a little bit, the tables had turned and I became a counselor. I worked in mental health for 20 years, where I worked in jails. I worked in psych screening, anything in mental health that you can think of, I've done. And then I transitioned to education, becoming a teacher / high school counselor. And I did that for several years. And I was in a school where I started to move up, and I went into a director of student services and curriculum administrator. And then during that uncomfortable season of me where I felt like there's something missing, COVID happened. At home, I'm still trying to figure things out. I had wrote my book. I forgive myself for forgetting of myself, because I felt like I wasn't putting myself first. And we tend to, as we're in the field of helping others, we tend to forget ourselves. So after just really doing some deep reflection and some self thought and some healing, I decided, I said, you know what, it's time for a shift. And I was uncomfortable where I was going every day. I wasn't happy. And I said, I got to make a change. And doing that, I birthed School Counselors on Wheels. And the idea was for me to be able to continue to help others in this newfound healing I was in, this newfound passion I felt, but I felt like I wanted to do it not just confined to one school district, one's school setting, one school, but to be able to use my gifts, my talents, my purpose, my expertise in other ways, and to be able to go to different places all over the world to help people. So I started, still continuing to work with families, helping them with FAFSA, college career readiness, applications, scholarships, just being able to say, okay, did you know this was out there? Being able to give, especially kids that look like me when I was little and what I didn't have at times, the option, the support, and the motivation to go after anything they want to go after. So I birthed School Counselors on Wheels. And then from there, I started mentoring and consulting and working with educators, specifically new counselors and social workers who are just coming into the field, so that they don't get burnt out, so that they can feel confident in their role, and that they can look at how they can manage it and service their kids, especially kids that look like us, in a certain way. And then also what I currently do is I go into schools and I do empowerment and self-love, self-esteem workshops to empower female students of color to feel good about themselves, have a sense of belonging, and help them do that so that they can succeed in their academics. And so we can continue to have academic success, because when you feel good, you can perform better in your academics. And I want them to know that you are amazing. You can be the astronaut, you can be the president, you could be the doctor, but there's also a level of work that we have to do, not only in our academics, but within ourselves. So that's a little bit about me. That's where School Counselor on Wheels come from. And my goal, my ultimate goal, and those of you that are listening to the sound of my voice to help me reach my goal is to mentor 2,000 girls. I want to start there, and I want to be able to have different programs and be able to touch and mentor different girls all over around the world.
Ooh, yes, yes. All right. So everyone listening out there, be sure that you connect with Shatiera about everything she's got going on. Specifically, if you have a young girl in your life that maybe it's your niece, maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's the neighbor across the street or next door or someone at church, and they don't have someone, I call it an adult looking out for them. They don't have someone. You can be their someone.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You can be their someone. You said so many amazing things. I want to go back to your book.
Yes.
I forgive myself for forgetting myself.
Yes. Yes.
As an author, right. As an author, as someone who has birthed the book, who has a list of 10 others that are inside of me, I want to know your journey. How did you decide, I'm actually going to put pen to paper and author this book?
Right. Thank you. Well, it wasn't easy. I was trying to write a book. Initially, my first thought is I wanted to capture some of my moments to kind of share my testimony, the things I went through, for it to be a motivational, inspiring piece, and put it in the book. And I was having a hard time because sometimes when we write, and we want to put those out on paper, we worry about what everybody's going to think. And coming up, I wanted to be able to share my story, but I didn't want to insult or hurt any family members, but specifically my mom, because we weren't, at the time that I wrote the book, in the best spaces. My mom had a substance abuse problem. She wasn't in my life, but I understood and still understanding what was going on at the time. But I also wanted to be able to share my part of my story of healing and the things I wanted to share. So I was in this kind of like this uneasy space of how do I do that? But I also wanted to be able to work on my healing process. So I started to be able just to capture some moments, write them in a Google Doc, just start jotting some things down. And I went to a writing retreat with in Atlanta, I believe 13 in June, they have a writing retreat, and they're a publishing company for Black writers who wants to write. And I went to a retreat, a one-day retreat in Atlanta. I went there, and when I tell you, I couldn't write anything. There, spent money, got on a flight, stayed there the whole weekend, couldn't do anything, and I was so disappointed. They had another retreat in Cabo, Mexico, where we went, and I went, and we sat down, and she said, do what you typically do. Sometimes we try to recreate the wheel. Do what you do. And what I am an audio person, you guys. If you text me, I'm gonna send you an audio back. I like to
You're a talker.
Yes, I'm a talker. The whole text and writing, I can do it. It's not my love language of choice. But she said, do that. So I started just taking my phone. I went outside by the beach and I was just talking. And it transcribed as I was writing, and I had pages and pages. So when I left that 4-day retreat, I had my manuscript done by the time I got on a plane to come back to New Jersey. And what it was just sharing some of my stories, some of my thoughts. And then I started putting together questions that I needed to ask myself, or questions that were asked to me, to start looking at my life in a more positive way. If we start thinking about mess and sitting in mess, we're going to be in the mess. I wanted to get out of that. I wanted to set my life up.
What we focus on
Yes,
expands.
yes, expands and being positive. So in the book, you'll find a little bit about my story. You're going to find prompts that it's a self journal also for you to ask yourself, what is your purpose? What is your superpower? What is your gifts? And give you time to think about this, for you to be able to look at it. We should be able to identify who we are, how special we are, because not everybody's going to have the capacity or know how to pull us up. We should be able to know that about ourselves and be able to do that. So I ignite you and I excite you about looking at yourself in a different way that you don't typically look at. And then for you to write that down. And then that's on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side of the book is an affirmation. So sometimes when we think about it and we reflect, we need to affirm ourselves in that. It's one to ask yourself something, then answer it. But I need you to believe that. I need you to believe that. So there's a affirmation for you to be able to take what you just came up with and affirm that in your own way, right? And then at the end of the book, I have a 7-day writing plan for you to be able to do affirmations, to write a letter to yourself. And it's just a little bit of tools and resources to be able to get you through. And what I tell people is the book is something that you can continue to read over and over. It's also a book that can look at different seasons in your life. You can pick, I want to focus on the professional side of Shatiera. I want to look at the personal side of Shatiera. I want to look at the CEO side. So you can take the book and keep reading it over and answering these questions on different parts of you and who you are, so that you can continue. So sometimes it's like, I don't know where to start. I don't have insurance. I don't have money. You know where we come from. I'm not ready to tell anybody my business. I don't want to talk to anybody. So it's really this kind of at-home guide for you to start somewhere. We always say, I don't know where to start. This book is the perfect way, whether no matter what journey or what place you are in your life, it'll help you start the process. Even if you started before and you was like, I tried that, it didn't work. Child,
Try it again.
Get in a book. It's an easy
Yes.
read. Some of us be like, well, I don't like reading. Listen. It's an easy read. And you can start today and you can pick it up back next week. You could do it every day. You could do a couple of them a day, but it's one of those things that it meets you at where you are. And it's a present read for you to continue your journey.
Oh, I love it, Shatiera. Okay, so the book is called I Forgive Myself for Forgetting Myself.
Yes.
Powerful title. We're going to take a quick commercial break. You've been listening to the Awesomeness in Action radio show. I'm your host, Roshana Price. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Awesomeness in Action radio show. If you've been listening, you know that we have a very special guest. Shatiera Portee. She is an educational consultant. She is an author. She is a counselor. You are a phenomenal woman. And I've had the privilege of knowing you in this brief time, of seeing you do your thing at the State of Black Learning Conference. Before the break, we were talking about your book, I Forgive Myself for Forgetting Myself. And for the listeners that are just joining us, the one question I have about your book and your journey of authoring, you said, I wasn't great at writing it down, taking pen to paper or typing it out. I really needed to speak it out. For those that are listening, if you have any nuggets or advice around their journey towards, I'm going to call it bringing their voice forward in any way, is there anything that you would like to share with them?
Yes, I think for me that once I got this part, which I'm going to share in a moment, it was like, okay, so I felt like I lost my voice a long time ago. So when I started to be able to do it in a way that it wasn't worrying about how I sounded, that the words had to be correct or, just had to be so proper and I could show
Uh-huh.
up authentically. It was
Yes.
easy for me. So I think what it takes time is just do it. Just really do it. Just start. You're going to start somewhere. It doesn't have to be from the beginning. So what I would say is whatever is on your mind. So I tell people two things. Have a post-it or a journal with you at any time so that if something comes to mind where you think of I call it my bar, whether it's a line, an affirmation, a word,
Yeah.
just write it down on a post-it. Write
A
it down
brain
in your
pop. That's what I
Yep,
call it.
a
A brain
brain
pop.
pop, right? Brain pop. Or, write it, like record it, do a video. We like to do selfies anyway. So put yourself in, just be like, you know what? I was thinking about what would it be if I was a millionaire? Whatever it is, just record those clips and you can come back and put it together. But I would definitely say it just started for me knowing that I could do it. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we don't even tap into there's another option for us. And I think once I've done that, I didn't stop. And then I just started using my platform, whether it was a live, whether it was videos, whether it was just going outside and just saying it, whether it was singing a song. If you are an artist and you want to just, throw a bar, rap a rhyme, write a poetic, you want to write a poem, whatever it is, use what you're used to, start there
Yep.
and then, let it, continue the journey, but just don't stop. Don't feel like it got to be perfect. When I tell you one of the best things and my best pieces is when I'm just doing it, when I just
Where you're
did it
just free, when it is
free,
just flowing, there's no.
flowing free, no boundaries. Hmm.
Absolutely. What I love about what you're saying, and as I have interviewed and talked with and coached several different people from all different walks of life, is that breakthrough to the freedom and to the truth of who you are. Whatever the who you are is, right? You said getting over the burden of, does it have to sound a certain way? Is it proper? Like, what is the correct grammar and punctuation? None of that matters. Just get it out. There are
Hmm.
plenty of other people that can translate it into whatever language it
Yes,
is. Because the truth is when you write something, you have no idea how expansive it is. And so even if you're writing for correct English grammar, when your book is translated into French or Spanish or
hmm,
Yoruba or whatever the language is, it's going to have to be altered anyway. It's
yes.
about the feeling that comes forward.
Mhm, mhm.
And one of the things that I recognized when I was listening to your acceptance speech, so
Mhm.
congratulations
Thank you.
for being an educator of excellence
Yes,
honored by the State of Black Learning Conference
yes,
this year in 2023.
yes,
What I recognized was the feeling that you conveyed in your acceptance was your love for your grandmother who raised you, who was in the
yes,
audience.
yes,
And so when I think about being raised by a grandmother, I was not, but I
mm,
have several family members who were raised by my grandmother, who she passed away a couple of years ago, but they have a very different relationship with her than I did because my parents raised me and I
mm,
lived far away from my grandmother. But can you share a little bit of insights around what you received and
mm.
continue to receive from this
Yeah.
powerful woman?
Yes. In my book, I title part of it Grandma's Orphans, right?
Mm,
Because we were young and it was her daughter, she had her daughter young. And what I say is that she already lived her life. She raised her kids. She didn't have to. So her sacrifice to really as still, a young woman, to be able to make the choice, the selfless choice to say, I am going to make sure that my child's children are with me and I'm going to do the best that she could. She was a single parent as well. So even she was a widow, single parent. So when we took her, she didn't have any help. She was working 3 jobs. She's scrubbed floors in the past. She was doing aid work. She was also doing a bankrupt analyst. She was doing so many things, but she made sure we never felt unloved any second or any moment. I can like just feel that even to this thing. So I always look at her because no matter what award, no matter what event I had, no matter what it is, she would leave her job. She would come, support, she would hug, say, I love you, I'm proud of you, go back to whatever she did. She was working another part-time job. like at night, come home at 10 o'clock, I'm home, I love you, get up. So she's always instilled this love in me unconditionally that I always say if I had an ounce of that, and I try to have that with my own son, but I think her patience, I felt like I could come to her and tell her anything. So there's been moments where some people feel like they can't go and tell their family. I've
Mhm.
done that.
Mhm.
Um, Even if there's a level of disappointment or lack of agreement of whatever it is, it's the love is still there and I still feel open. And I see that with my son, and everybody calls her mom. So
Mm.
as my grandmother, we call her mom, but I just thank her for her patience, her love, and just being able to take us in because you always have that choice that you don't. So for me, she showed me what family is, how you deeply rooted in family,
Mhm.
and how the importance of having a family and love is. So she really truly is showing me one level of what love truly is, and it's unconditional.
And it's unconditional. And I love what you're saying because that makes me think through even as you're counseling,
Mhm.
as you're working
Mhm.
with educators, as
Mhm.
you are pursuing your goal of mentoring 2,000 girls,
Right.
it's being at safe space, being a place where they know, whoever the they is, that
Mhm.
in this moment or with you in that whatever space it is, virtual or in
Mhm.
person, that
Mhm.
they're worthy of being there
Yes.
and
Yes.
that you are looking for them. One of the biggest things I think that happens for youth, and then it does translate into adulthood, is you can go through a whole K-12 experience and be anonymous,
Yes. Ooh.
be
Yes.
unseen by
Yes.
anyone.
Yes.
No one, I mean, they take attendance and roll,
Mhm.
but no one really cares if you're there. Even if you are actually physically there, no one cares if you're in that your body, soul, like
Mhm.
actually present versus, I'm here, but like if nobody calls on me, I won't ever say anything. Students go through a whole day not actually ever speaking.
Mhm.
And so that's what I love about the work that you're doing. For
Yes.
those that are interested in working with you, how do they find you? How do they connect with you?
Yes, please feel free to email me at School Counselors on Wheels. So it's School Counselor on Wheels at gmail.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Shatiera Portee, or on Instagram, Shatiera Portee. But either any way you connect with me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I'm glad you just said that because my grandmother made me feel seen. And that's one of my missions and my visions is to make sure that we see our children, whether it's a hello, whether it's a good job, but definitely when you start to move on from this day forward, those of you that are listening, just look at what does it look like when you're engaging with somebody? How do you feel seen and how are you making someone else feel seen?
Hmm. And I think the thing that I've personally experienced is the counter.
Mm, mm,
It's we remember how people make us feel one way or the other on the bright side of it and definitely on the negative side. And so for listeners out there, if you're wondering, what does it feel like to be seen? If you
mm.
are unsure, you can go back to the times where you haven't felt seen and start there.
Yes,
Start
yes.
there.
Mhm.
Yeah, the some of the things that I believe God does in our lives is he puts us in situations
Mm,
that are the most hurtful and the most devastating so that we can really start to know who we
yes.
are in his eyes.
Mm,
The reason we know light is because there's been darkness.
yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, you said that because my toughest moments was during the pandemic where I couldn't leave and I had to look at myself. I wasn't looking at myself and I had to sit and also it's the most uncomfortable moments of myself because the woman that I was trying not to be, I was becoming. And I couldn't go outside because it was a state of emergency. And I had to sit with that. And it was the most uncomfortable because any other time I could get up, I can go. I
Yeah,
was
you
at
could
work.
be busy. You could
Yep.
busy yourself.
He showed me who I was. I did not like who I was. I was not. Yes, I was still doing some work, but I needed help in my parenting. I needed help in my friendships. I needed help if I wanted to be a significant other. I need to be a better daughter, a better sister. It was so many levels of me that needed to be clear. And the trash needed to be taken out.
Mm,
And it was, but it was so uncomfortable, like you said. And it was kind of like the mirror was placed in front of me and I had to do something about it because it was starting to stink. And I had to
mm.
take the trash out and I did. And I'm thankful for that because if I didn't, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you shared that. Thank you for that
Mhm.
vulnerability
Mhm.
because people listening may be wondering, or maybe they're in the middle of figuring out, do I sit with myself?
Mhm,
Absolutely. Yes. Sit
mhm.
with yourself to do the work to really see yourself the
Yeah.
way that you currently are, and then the way that God sees you, the way that he intended. And
Yes. Yes.
that's it. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Give us your final
That's
nuggets.
it. That was it. My final thing was just gonna say,
Yeah.
have the faith. Just have the faith and the passion. What I'm learning is that my story, the things I went through is all coming full circle, and that it was already written for me. And where I'm at now, I'm supposed to go through those things because that's what my mission is, being a mentee now to a mentor, me learning and being the one that was teachable to learn these things, even the most uncomfortable things, so I can come back to be able to help others who didn't feel seen, who felt unloved, who didn't feel there was enough, to be able to go back now to say, this is, you are, I see you. This is the work you got to do. What does it look like for you? I want you to identify your superpower and what makes you so amazing. And I need you to know that. So all of this is really where School Counselors on Wheels comes from.
There it is, right here. You've heard it on the Awesomeness in Action radio show. Shatiera Portee, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
Come
having
back
me.
again.
Yes, I can't wait to
Absolutely.
come back. Thank you.
Yes, come back again. For anyone who is interested in working with Shatiera, go ahead and go to schoolcounseloronwheels.com. That's
Yes,
schoolcounseloronwheels.com. Get connected, get what you need. If it's you, if it's for a student, it's again for anyone in your community. And for everyone that's listening, if you want to be on the Awesomeness in Action radio show, reach out to me at The Giver of Awesomeness on Instagram. That's The Giver of Awesomeness on Instagram. DM me and my team will get back to you as soon as possible, or I will. I tell people all the time, my messaging on IG, I'm slow, so that's why I have other people. They are humans and they
yes,
do respond on my behalf because we want to have you on the show. If you are looking for advertising commercials to get your product or your service out to the masses, message me so that we can get you the online marketing that you need.
yes.
Until next week, continue to be blessed and always remember awesomeness is in you.
Thank you.
Bye.